Okay, so for the first challenge for Unit 1, the first part of that challenge was that the plane was going backwards when the user started the game. So if we come into the player controller code here, you can see that to fix that, I assigned a private float which set the forward movement speed of the plane to 5, and then in my update I set this right here, the transform.translate vector3.forward. I believe originally that was dot backward or some other thing telling the vector3 which direction to move. And then the second part of that was that the plane was going too quickly. So again, that part of that was assigning the speed to 5, and then in that same function down here, multiplying it by time delta time times the speed that we assigned up here, and then multiplying it by a forward input. And that forward input is first assigned here, the variable for that. And then forward input, you get the axis of fire 1, which I have assigned to left shift for forward and left control for backward. Then the third thing that we had to do was make the plane tilt forward and backward with the arrow keys up and down, or W and S for up and down. So first step for that was to create the input for that, which is the vertical input, and I also assigned a vertical rotation speed that would be what the number that is multiplied for how fast that rotation happens. And then again, I called the axis vertical, which is W and S, or the up and down arrow keys, and that was then put into this rotate function, which rotates around the right axis, and then which is then the vertical rotation speed times time delta time times the input of the up and down arrow keys. And I also went ahead and did the same for the yaw and the bank of the airplane, because it was fairly quick and easy to do. So you can see that I assigned the speed for those for the yaw right here, and for the bank of the plane right there, and then created the inputs for those there and there. And then I got an axis for each of those. For the yaw, I used the horizontal, and for the bank, I used fire 2, which I set to page up and page down, I believe is were the controls that I did for those. And then did the same thing down here with the rotate, vector 3 around the up axes for the yaw control, and around the forward axes for the bank control. And if we go back into Unity here and click play, you can see that when I click left shift, it moves forward. When I up arrow, it goes down. Down arrow, it goes up. And then left and right arrows make it bank. And then page up and page down make it yaw around the vertical axes. Pause that again. As you can see in playing that real quickly, I fixed the issues in the follow player code, which were changing the camera position to something that was useful. I chose to do that behind the plane. You can see that that was done in this assignment of an offset here. And these numbers are what I use for that offset. I played around with those a little bit, and that worked well. And the other issue is to make it follow the plane. So in this function down here, transformed out position, added the transform position, which is where the plane is, plus the offset here, which I assigned up here. And I also assigned the camera to the plane, and you can see that in the inspector here as well under main camera that, the player is assigned to the plane for what it needs to follow. And the last thing that we had to do was make the propeller rotate. So I created this new script here of propeller rotate. And first thing I did was create the rotation speed for the propeller. I played around with that as well and found that 2000 seemed like a number that worked well and looked reasonable. Created a variable for the propeller input, which I then assigned to the same as the forward movement input, which was the left shift and left control. And then, so when that is pressed, the propeller starts to rotate. And then to do that, another transform.rotate function with vector 3 around the forward axis. And then it's the propeller input, which is here, multiplied by the rotation speed, which is 2000 times time delta time. So that is how I solved all of the issues with the code. And again, you can see when I click left shift, it goes forward, left control goes backwards, and then I can tilt it up and down, left and right, and around the vertical axes with the arrow keys and page up, page down.